So that climax moment, and that was I miss these moments so much. When I was talking to Geeta ji about this, and it was, I really want to go to the auditorium and shoot these beautiful moments again. And what lovely abhinay and what lovely close-up shot, the ones I love so much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining Tell Me About It series. Today we have one of the most inspiring, and I can say, I can easily say, and I actually started my dance photographer career with a Bharatnatyam performance with her Natya Vriksha dance company at Samapa Sangeet Sammelan, I remember. And everybody knows her. Geeta Chandran ji, dancer, choreographer. She's the founder, president of Natya Vriksha, artistic director at the Natya Vriksha dance company. She was awarded Padmashri in 2007, Central Sangeet Natak Academy awardee in 2016, Tagore National Fellow 2018 and 2020. The list is endless. अगर मैं लिस्ट पूरी अवार्ड्स की शायद बोलनी शुरू करूं तो मुझे लगता है मुझे चैट कल करनी पड़ेगी. आज तो मैं 1 घंटा अवार्ड्स ही बोलता रहूंगा. But I'm so honored. I feel so happy and so honored to welcome into the chat room our very own Geeta Chandran ji. With a huge round of applause. आप जहां बैठे हो please तालियां जरूर बजाएं. Welcome Geeta ji. Thank you so much for joining us.
The Rageshwari still, I haven't come out of the Rageshwari. Dim Tani Dirana Dridre Tanana Janutadim 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 Tadaratani Dirana Tanana Janutadim Janutadim Janutadim. Sudha, where are you? I have to dance.
And I have to photograph, please. I
know this has been a difficult time, not meeting community, not meeting friends, habit of going every evening to a theatre, watching, performing, whatever, and then gossiping after that, all that.
Yeah. 5 months almost, I think.
You asked me to gossip here.
It's a free, I mean, I wouldn't say a free show, but yeah. Open, very
informal.
Everything is very informal, and yeah, we are not talking about any serious stuff. So that is what our tagline says: nothing serious about it. I would like to read some messages. Shivangi Mahajan says pranam. I'll just enlarge the messages so you can see them a little clearly. And Guru Pradeep Shankar Academy, behind that, the idea and all the concept that we worked out was by Mahua ji and Murad Bhai and me all together. So she's welcoming you. Namaskar, dear Geeta Didi. It's an honor to have you for.
Hi, Murad. Hope all of you are well safe.
And Nupur ji says, Namaskar Geeta ji, Namaskar Innee ji, Namaskar ji. Thank you so much for joining. Geeta Setia ji always joins us from US every day, and thank you so much Geeta ji, and very inspiring indeed, she says. मेरे लिए भी ये बहुत surprising, and it came as a very happy surprise when you started to sing, because this was, I mean, जब उन्होंने वो last note लगाया,
the mood was so beautiful, उससे निकलने का थोड़ा time लग जाता है to come out and start rapping.
Uma Dogra ji says, very, very good evening, Geeta ji and Innee ji. Good evening, Uma ji.
Hi, Uma.
Thank you so much for joining. Sandeep Datta is here. Sandeep says, Namaskar, Geeta ji, and hello, Innee.
Hi, something working on the ECA. Lage rahe, hum bhi lage hain.
Rita Banerjee says, "What a start, Geeta." That was a surprise for me, and I'm very happy that this is now recorded and we have it in our records now. Uh, Nikita from Bombay says, "Namaskar, ma'am and sir." Namaskar. Geeta ji says, "Uma ji says, kya baat hai?" Of course, these are all coming for your start. Uma Dogra ji says, "Ha ha, gossip." So let's get on with it right away.
Yes, absolutely.
I have been missing because I started this series with the frame of mind that with the idea in the mind that I wanted to go behind in time, back in time, and talk about dancers, about their journeys. And you've been brought up in Delhi,
Yes.
तो आपसे तो मैं हिंदी में भी बड़ी आराम से बात कर सकता हूँ. हाँ जी. So how is
पंजाबी में not fluent.
क्या मैं गा सकता हूँ बीच में?
बलदीप, हाँ बिल्कुल गा सकते हैं. बलदीप ने कहा पंजाबी में बोल तो दो तीन लाइनें. मैंने कहा ये नहीं हो सकता. ये I can't expose myself to that degree.
That's lovely. So I would like to know about your journey in Delhi as a dancer. What has Delhi given to you and how it started?
I think Delhi, with all its negative publicity and people saying all kinds of things about Delhi, I just love Delhi. I think it's a city that's nurtured me, and it's a city that is it's like a melting pot. You have every form of expression so beautifully. Every evening we have so many options. We have at least 8 to 10 options every evening of dance, music, theater, film, discussions, seminars. And so I think, it's a city that stimulates in any which way. आपको जो पसंद है आप उसमें जाएं और उसका पूरा लुत्फ उठाएं. So I think बचपन से we've been watching not only just Bharatanatyam or Carnatic music. I have watched so much of Hindustani classical, heard so much of Hindustani classical music, and so much of theatre, because NSD is here. Every year we have the great festival, Rang Mahotsav, and interacted with theatre people. So I feel the interconnection between the arts and visual art, how can I forget? So much has been going on, and we from childhood gone to these shows, and also gone to the studios of people who work in various mediums. I think that resulted in my always wanting to work with people from other genres and trying to explore what happens to dance when it is put with puppetry, when it is put with theatre, when it is put with movement vocabulary, when it is put with visual art. Because I had friends in all these. And for me, collaboration can happen only when you know the person and you admire that person's work and that person knows what you stand for. And there has to be a great synergy, and it has to be seamless. It can't be forced. So when people say, will you work with XY person, an organizer comes and says, it becomes a little difficult, because then you have to start from scratch and you have to build a kind of a bridge into that person's whole philosophy towards the art. Delhi, when I started learning, I used to be in Karol Bagh, which was yes. So it was a place where I think it was again, a mix of working class, trader community, a lot of South Indians. There were exclusive South Indian shops. And my teacher taught in the heart of Channa Market, and her class was there. So, Ajmal Khan Road was our high point. And at least in a week, thrice we had to go to Ajmal Khan Road and have our kulfi and have our golgappas and everything. So I think it was a very simple kind of childhood, because values were very strong at home, and priorities were very right. You had You had to have good education, and you had to focus on what you were doing, because parents had struggled to get where they had got. It was not an easy road for them. So, they had aspirations that they hadn't really achieved, which they wanted their children to achieve. So in all that, my parents invested a lot in me. I'm an only child. So my mother did not go to work. She was a homemaker. So my mother and father both invested a lot of time, energy, money, everything on my arts and on my learning and my imbibing what they thought was best at that time. And I think going to programs, going to Ashoka Theatre, where Jaspalji used to organize programs, and I've grown up watching, all the greats perform there, and it just all used to be ticketed, mind you, Innee.
Yeah,
And,
ticketed.
Yes. So Ashoka Hotel was like, the point where all dancers danced, and we were brought up with Indrani ji, Yamini ji, Radha Raja Reddy ji, all these people performing there. And, we learned a lot of presentation techniques from all these people, how to present a professional program. So all these things were a learning process. Then we had other theatres like Satyamurthy Auditorium, IFAX Theatre, Mavalankar Theatre. These were all the theatres. In fact, none of them are now functioning homes or theatres,
I've only heard of Mavalankar, that's all. I don't even know the other names.
Sapru
Yeah,
House.
that I've heard a lot from Avinash ji.
Yes.
But
Sapru
I don't
House.
even know where that was.
These were the favorite haunts, where we all used to. इसी में सारे जो important festivals इसी में होते थे, और इसी में सारे जो हिंदुस्तानी क्लासिकल के जो सम्मेलन होते थे वो भी होते थे. तो सारे इन्हीं सारे IFAX छोटा है, so I had Marangatram in IFAX, very cute theatre, very small, like something like IIC, and for a solo it was very nice. And I still remember Radha Raja Reddy.
Where was this?
This was 1974.
1974. But where was this theatre? IFAX
का एक IFAX का जो it's near the Parliament House. You remember?
Okay. But it doesn't exist anymore.
It exists. The building is there, but Rafi Marg us taraf hai. But it's not functioning anymore. And Constitution
because I've never heard.
Matlankar hota tha. So
I know.
Greats like Balamma has performed in Sapru House, and I remember that was my high point where I went and saw her. And we've had performances of Uma ji, Sonal ji, and Yamini ji together. Chatushka Parda, I remember they performed together. I've seen that. So these are memories that have stayed with you. And these are, and they were very simple times, and we used to take a taxi or an auto and just go to the venue and see. And there was no walking out of a program. We saw from beginning to end. We never walked out of a program. थोड़ी तहजीब होती थी तब. देखने का भी एक तरीका होता था, सुनने का एक तरीका होता था. So that I think was a very, very important quality, where people dedicated an evening to a program. अगर मन बना लिया कि आज हम प्रोग्राम देखने जाएंगे, तो पूरा सुन के उसका पूरा रस में उठा के फिर आते हैं. तो आज जो है ना 3-4 कार्यक्रम में जंप करना, ये सब होता नहीं था.
So at that time, जो उस टाइम पे जो डांस के होते थे, those were ticketed.
Most of them were ticketed. Particularly जसपाल जी का तो पूरा ही टिकटेड था. सप्रू हाउस में भी टिकटेड था. कुछ फ्री होते थे, कुछ टिकटेड होते थे. तो I think it was a mix of both, and म्यूजिक भी वैसा ही था.
But since when did?
हाँ, बहुत सारे informal setups भी होती थी. जैसे there's something called Madrasi School in Tamil Educational Society in near Karol Bagh in Reading Road. वहाँ पे सारे ग्रेड्स ने परफॉर्म किए हैं. वहाँ पे एक थिएटर, तमिल थिएटर ग्रुप होता था जो परफॉर्म करता था. और Chembei Vaidyanatha Bhagodar I've heard, Mani Iyer I've heard all the Karnataka greats in that place. And we used to sit on the floor and listen to them. स्कूल का माहौल था, एक स्कूल का स्पेस था, एक quadrangle type. और उसमें एक सिर्फ शामियाना लगता था और वहाँ पे परफॉर्मेंस, और ये परफॉर्मेंसेस 1-1.5 घंटे का नहीं है, इट यूज्ड टू बी 3.5 hours परफॉर्मेंसेस, यू नो. तब तो म्यूजिक प्रोग्राम आने 3.5 hours. और another thing which I remember very distinctly is that अगर यामिनी अक्का करती थी तो पहले भरतनाट्यम करती थी, फिर उसके बाद ऑर्केस्ट्रा चेंज होता था और फिर कुचिपुड़ी होता था और फिर लास्ट में ऑर्केस्ट्रा फिर से चेंज होता था और फिर ओडिसी होता था. तो यू नो सो इतना लंबा होता था. So they used to have 3 sets of musicians and they used 3 sets of orchestra, and we used to enjoy all 3 forms. क्योंकि उस टाइम में क्लासिकल उठ ही रहा था, in the sense कुचिपुड़ी और ओडिसी तब, you know, they hadn't come into their own. They were still exotic forms which were there, but which needed to be kind of pushed and recognized. So Bharatanatyam was already there, but and also a lot of international audience used to come for these shows. So, you know, the talking used to be done by Yamini Akka's father. And so we learned a lot how the presentation should be, how to reach out to an unknown audience, the audience that's not initiated. So I think we learned a lot. And I think the other thing about Delhi is the international presence, because all the embassies were here. Are here.
हाँ जी, that's true.
अब तो उनके पास कोई फंड नहीं है, बेचारे हो गए सब. पहले बहुत फंड्स होते थे. तो you know, the biggest ballet company or the biggest ensemble music or the biggest orchestra सब ने यहाँ आके परफॉर्म किया है. तो you know, वो भी हम लोग जाके देखते थे, बैक स्टेज जाके देखते थे, और ऐसे होते थे क्योंकि उनके एक क्यूबिकल्स बनते थे पीछे एक डांसर के लिए. सब कुछ you know used to be so organized and so well prepared behind stage, because they used to come with so much tamjam, and they could travel like that, you know. So that was all amazing and a learning for us, because at that time we never traveled out of India, you see. So we were traveling within India. So, you know, to learn all this, we got an opportunity because Delhi had that possibility for the missions to bring in all these things, all these wonderful programs, and African drums ho, you know, Pina Bausch ka program ho, any of these companies that you see, we watched it in Delhi. I mean, sitting in Delhi. So I think we were blessed in that sense of that exposure that we got in Delhi. Because of which I think we never are myopic about Bharatanatyam. You know, we respect all forms, and you know, we feel, और सब फॉर्म से हमने सीखा है. You know, whether it is from ओडिसी से क्या अच्छा है वो लिया है. तो you know, there is कथक से जो है, कथक में इतने सारे फ्रेंड्स हैं, रोज बातचीत होती है, किसी ने किसी से कुछ किसी चीज पे, पोइट्री पे बात होती है या लय पे बात होती है, किसी मुद्दे पे कुछ ना कुछ लेके हम लोग बात करते रहते हैं. तो आई थिंक दिस आदान प्रदान and this give and take from each other's forms led to a lot of respect for other forms.
That's very interesting. I'll take some more comments. Santosh Nair ji is here. He was on my show a couple of days back. He says, hello Innee ji and Geeta ji, looking forward to this interaction which has started बड़ा मजा आ रहा है. अच्छा, ये comment I had already taken. There was Murad Bhai was welcoming you. Anchita Puri says, Namaste Geeta ma'am, Innee sir, thank you so much. Gaurav Chawla ji especially mentioned, Innee ji, please say hello to Geeta ji from my side. So I'm saying hello to you.
Hello.
From his side. Geeta ji says, again, nostalgic, missing Delhi. Uma ji says, Murad Bhai welcomes you. He says, Namaskar, unexpected Geeta Chandran ji, Adab Innee Bhai, aapka swagat hai, khush aamadid. Uma ji says, yes, I had also performed with my Guruji many times at Ashoka convention.
Yes.
These are like for me, when I listen to these stories or when I listen to the history of all that the senior dancers tell, it sounds like black and white के जो photos मैं देखता हूँ तो उसमें जो stories मुझे नजर आती हैं, like I was looking at your pictures, so उसमें जो मुझे stories नजर आती हैं, these are that is why it interests me so much. Deepa Narayanan Sashindran says, Geeta Akka, inspired to watch, hear you always. Thanks Innee ji for cool fun sessions. My pleasure, thank you so much. And we have a lot of I think a lot of your fan following which is here, and my camera is becoming a little blurry so it's automatically blurring me, but I'll just put it on manual focus. Yeah, now it won't do that. Sita Lakshmi Iyer ji says Namaskaram Akka. Madhavi Menon ji says loved hearing about the Delhi performance spaces and performance of yours. Shambhavi Shukla ji says Pranam to Geeta Akka, really nice to hear you. There are a lot of comments, but अगर मैं सारे पढ़ूंगा तो शाम हो जाएगी, रात हो जाएगी. हाँ जी. So let's continue. And I have been because I've worked with you and I've photographed for your pre-Arangetrams. I was talking to somebody a while back and I said Geeta ji के साथ photo shoot करने में मजा भी आता है और थोड़ा सा डर भी लगता है, क्योंकि उनको फोटोग्राफर से पहले पता होता है कि डांसर का एक्सप्रेशन है कि नहीं. And I remember when you were shooting and I was about to take a picture and you said nahi, expression chala gaya, and I'm like chala gaya to fir shutter kharab na karu, wait karu. But because you have worked with a lot of photographers, Sanjay Rakesh Sahai ji, you've worked with him a lot, and I still see his pictures that you post, especially from Khajuraho. And you've worked with other dance photographers. You've worked with, obviously, with Avinash ji. I have some pictures that I would like to show you, and I would like to have more information about it, and to show it to the audience as well, which are really interesting for me, because I see one of this picture. You playing a Saraswati Veena, I think.
Yes.
This was. Tell me something about this.
Yeah, we had two Veenas in the house because my mother used to play the Veena. She's never played in a performance. She was never interested so much in performing, but she used to learn. And from my dance teacher was a fabulous Saraswati Veena performer. So she used to teach mornings. She used to go for class to her. And every day without fail, my mother used to practice. At least even she passed away in January on 19th of this year. And even before that, I think 2 days before that, she was actually practicing music.
I'll just have to cut in between.
Yes.
हमारे यहाँ पे light चली गई है. I'll have a 5-minute backup. But if it discontinues, then I'll rejoin from my iPad.
Yeah. So I had the Veena there, and my mother used to always say, it's so good if you can learn an instrument as well. So why don't you learn to play it from me? So I started with the Saraswati Veena and started playing it. But with my studies, my dance, my music, this is a very difficult instrument. The Saraswati Veena is a very, very difficult instrument. And it requires a lot of practice. So I just learned the basics, and after which I didn't continue it. I used to only sing along when my mother used to play. So this was a shot taken at home, which I unearthed just a few weeks back from a lot of old photographs, which I scanned, and I kind of was very nostalgic about it, because the pigtails and the salwar and the size, and look at how slim I was. It was very depressing. So and I never learned to play the Veena.
I think I'll just change to this. Yeah.
Okay.
So that if it goes off,
आप कुछ भी कर सकते हैं.
I didn't
so
know
that's
this would
the story of that photograph.
अच्छा, that is so amazing. मुझे अपना ही feedback आ रहा है थोड़ा सा. I'll just take a second to fix this.
I'll keep you all engaged while Innee comes back. Am I audible? I don't know whether Innee has switched me off.
No, you're audible, Geeta ji.
Okay. So as I was saying, during those years when we were growing up, I think it's Delhi had those 2 months of vacation when I used to go away from Delhi, and I used to go to my grandmother's house in Kerala, and Cochin, actually, to be precise. And 2 months after that, when I used to come back, my God, you used to really long to come back to Delhi and start your work and your dance class. And dance class for me was 3 days a week. and the timings were never fixed. There was a time to go, but there was never a time to come back. And we used to walk to class, so there was no need for anybody to kind of drop us or pick us up. Class was very close. So learning was very without many stakes. You know, you just learned because you loved the dance form. And I started learning music rather early with Meera Sheshadri, who used to also sing for me for dance. And she used to also come home to teach. So it was a kind of very complementing. Dance and music really came together because it was all happening. The same person used to sing as well for dance. So I think, and I think the bar, as I always say, the bar was raised by my teacher, my first teacher, because she could sing beautifully, and she could play the veena, and she could, of course, dance. So all these three seemed most important if you had to become a dancer. And I never thought I'll become a dancer because my family was so much into academics. Dance was always thought to be an add-on, and padai was very, very important, and there was a lot of stress on academics because my entire family, nobody had gone into dance or music, and I was learning it, but they allowed me to learn, but never gave me the idea that I could take it up as my profession. And I also never kind of imagined that would actually happen. So as I went along, I came to LSR, Lake Shriram College. I did very well in school. I was quite an all-rounder. I used to play a lot of basketball. I used to love playing basketball. And I was in the school team, represented the school many times, and had a lot of injuries, falling down, and but playing in a team and, winning, losing, I think it taught me a lot. Sports is so important for everybody, that team spirit and to work together and to be in tandem. I still love basketball. Given a chance, if I see a court, I would love to go and dribble and, aim at a basket. Yes, Innee, are you back? I kept them all entertained.
Hanji, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, to me, yes.
Okay, that's good. So now I'm on my iPad, so there's no electricity, surprisingly. Thank you so much. So I missed all that, but I'll see the recording. There's a comment from Chitra Sundaram ji. Can you talk about what pulled you towards non-Margam work and when did that journey start?
Okay. Yes. I think in the late 90s is when I started doing non-Margam work. And it began by doing Margam with a Lord. It could be, Subramanya or Shiva, a whole program dedicated to one Lord. It began like that. And then, of course, I started breaking out and exploring poetry. Particularly, it could be, I started with Kalidas. Then I just took an abstract poem by Chandra Rajan called Shivam and tried interpreting the entire poetry through dance. The verses were read, and after that, it was complete an abstraction of the concept of Shiva. So that was my first work. I thought it was completely non-Margam, non-traditional, non-verbal as also, because it didn't have anything. It was just music, and to bring out the whole concept of a poetry through that work. So that probably was the first breakaway. Then, of course, there was a lot of not non-Margam, but collaborations. Like I did a work called Her Voice with puppeteer Anurupa Roy. And that was very interesting for me because puppetry was a very, very different discipline. And it didn't have that structured format the way Bharatanatyam has. So when they heard puppeteers came and my dancers came, my dancers would stare at them with all the puppets and say, "Ye kya hai? Pata nahi kya hi kar rahe hain." And the puppeteers used to say, "Ye kya hai? Aate hi shuru ho jate hain, haath pe chalane lag jate hain." So there was so much of lack of understanding of both forms on both sides. But it's like that. In 3 months, I think we worked together, and it became such a team, and we traveled quite a bit with that production, and it was lot of prop heavy production. And in that, actually I danced with a puppet, I talked to a puppet. The puppet was like an alter ego, and then there was a huge puppet at the back which was a witness to the entire. It was actually based on the Mahabharata. So many such interesting projects came my way, and collaborations came my way. With Rashid, I did movement theatre, and that was a work which was, I think, the most challenging for me, because I did martial arts for that work. I had to do a lot of other.
Is it me or nobody can hear the voice?
A lot of other training I had to do.
I think I can.
To do that work. It was Kaikei, and that was presented in the NSD festival. So that was nice for me to be actually featured, a dancer to be featured in a theatre festival. So that was very, very interesting to have a completely different audience view the work and give feedback. So, and then of course, Arpana Kaur is a great friend of mine. So, and I used to teach in her institute, and I used to see her work. I used to see her paintings. I used to always admire her work. And one day she had just finished her work, and she was displaying it. And suddenly I saw the work, and the whole choreography just came alive on seeing that. And I said, I have to do this. So I immediately did a work with that as the backdrop. And that was again a very interesting collaboration. And also, when I was doing all this, I think there was a lot of criticism, because I think a lot of people thought, why all this? Today, this is the young thing, and every youngster aspires to do things like this and wants to do. But then I think at that time, it was not seen as something which is required. They would always say, "Anna, do a varnam, that is enough." So I think in that sense, I took because people feel very happy when they can slot you. You're a margam person, they're happy if they can slot you. If they see that you can do a margam and you can do a lot of other things, I think it bothers. So I think a few years in between, I lost out in not being asked for traditional margam programs, because they thought, oh, I have moved out, and those kind of things. But I never cared. I always followed. I always wanted to do what I was convinced that I would want to do, and I would enjoy doing. So I think that stayed. I still am like that. If I find an interesting person with whom I would like to work, I'd still do, no matter from where we discipline. So I think those collaborations really enriched me, and I learned a lot from them, and try to bring all that into my this normal market work. So I think I've answered the question.
The problem is, Geeta ji, I can't hear you. There is something wrong with my speaker here, or something wrong with the iPad. I can't hear your audio.
Acha, I don't know whether others can.
I think my
Can anybody give a thumbs up, please, if you can hear?
This thing is not working. I've been trying to connect. I'd like, I'd like to invite our special guest into the chat room by the time I fix my issues what I'm having. So in the meantime, we can give the audience a huge surprise that the special guest we have here. Let's welcome a surprise guest today. I'm very sorry about this, but I was not expecting this electricity problem here. But I know everybody would be surprised to see who the special guest is. Let's welcome Rajiv Chandran ji into the room.
Hi, Ray.
Rajiv ji, namaskar. Thank you so much for joining.
Of course, and everybody.
The problem here is that I can't hear you.
Don't worry, but
can you hear each other? Can everybody else hear them?
Geeta, can you hear
Cannot
me?
hear you.
Yes,
So
I can.
I'll just I'll go offline. I'm not offline. I'll just hide myself and I'll fix this and I'll be back. In the meantime,
Sure.
Rajiv ji, if you can handle, if you can, just start what we had,
Yes.
what I was,
Oh, of course, absolutely.
interviewing Geeta ji.
Everybody who knows us knows that with Geeta and me, it's buy one, get one free. I mean, you buy Geeta and Rajiv comes free. And I'm damn proud of that. It's the way it is. We've grown up together. And so, but today I think there are still some issues that I would like to provoke Geeta with. Uh, Raja, as a dancer, you inhabit one world, which is the world of imagination, of expressions, where everything is acutely felt. Then there is the reality, the mundane reality of the household. Okay? So there is the washing and the organization, the problems with servants, the venues, all that. And then there is the social spirit that you really feel for. How do you negotiate these three worlds or multiple worlds? There could be more worlds. What is the system by which you are able to negotiate this? I mean, having watched you close, I know you do it well, but have you thought about how you are able to negotiate it?
I think it comes from training, because as a child, you're doing so many things, you're multitasking. And I think time management is taught very clearly to you, and you have this time slotted for this time slotted for this time for this is the time when the music practice has to happen. This is the time when you are with family, and this is the time when dance. So I think you just organize yourself in the head, and you know your tasks. I am quite a checklist person. I have a checklist for the day. I have a checklist for the week. I have a checklist for the month. You know that. And now it is in three places. It's in the diary, it's in the iPad, and it's in the cell. So I still love to write and tick it. So, it's more work, but I like to do it because it just keeps me very organized in the head. I think when I'm doing, sometimes when there is a work in the head, whatever I'm doing, there is still that work which is in the spinning in the head. That's when, of course, when you are very deeply involved in creating a work or rehearsing a work or doing something like that. Rest of the time, I think it's you want to finish everything and quickly come into the studio so that you have maximum time to work and to think. And for me, practice is not just sweating it out, but I love to come up with new concepts and revisit older concepts, older pieces, and create. I am now wanting to create very simple pieces for my students. Sometimes I feel the pedagogy doesn't have very simple pieces for them to enjoy dance. And now that we are in a mode where it's all being done on the Zoom, it's very hard to teach pure dance. So I've been really looking at good, interesting sahitya, simple sahitya, which they can enjoy, even the youngsters, because they love to do abhinaya. Because this closeness of watching the teacher is sometimes not even available in the real class. So I realized that in the virtual class, everybody loves doing abhinaya. And I've been thinking after the very young ones, how do we bring them into the fold? So all these things are very interesting for me, and all this I feel is important. And so when I see some of the youngsters targeting themselves only as performers, sometimes I feel I'm scared for them, because doing just one thing sometimes can be very, very lonely, depressing. So I think you need shades, you need rasa in life, you need chaos. You need to have breakdowns like Innee has had now. Doesn't matter. This is all part of life, and so I think you learn to kind of take things. You can't have everything perfect and then say, then I will do a thing. No, I think it everything has to happen at the same time, and life continues. And I think work is, at least for me, dance is a 24/7 activity. So I don't see this as work. I see this as something that's part of my life.
You know,
Yes, are you back?
Can you hear me and see me?
Yes,
I
yes,
you
yes.
I'm very sorry for this.
Wait, let Innee. Innee, do you have any other specific questions?
I don't know what I've missed, but
Okay.
I had a very special question about one of the pictures that I had shared, but I can share it here also. This is the picture,
Yes.
and this is with your mother.
This tells a long story, because my mother has been my companion and my mentor and my sakhi, in all the, because there was not too much of a, she had me very quite early in her life, so she was more like an older sister sometimes. And we've gone to movies together, we've shopped, we've had so much fun. And every class she used to come with me and then come back and make sure that I did what I did. And Chitra, if you're still watching, she used to always tell me, you should be like Chitra, you should study well, you should dance, and you should she had this, she Chitra was also a part of a beauty contest, so she had this photograph. She used to show me, see, she's on the Femina cover. How wonderful that a South Indian girl in Bombay has done this should be your aspiration. I was telling Chitra the other day, my mother used to always threaten me and show me all this and say, this is how you should be. So I think there was a lot of setting goals by her. And she was very, very goal oriented, and she was very organized with bringing me up, and very systematic, like many of the mothers are. And even today I see many of the mothers are very, very organized with the children.
Oh, that's lovely. And my electricity is back.
Good. Very good. Balle balle.
Shocking, shocking.
Oh, yeah, we should start. There's a very special picture that I saw, in which you are there with the. This is the picture with Sonal Mansingh ji.
Yes.
This was a performance or just a shoot? Tell me something about it, because I'm always interested. I've always been very interested in black and white photos, old photos, and especially where you can see multiple big name legendary dancers in one frame.
Yes.
So I
So
would really love to know about it.
this was a festival where Sonalji was also performing and I was also performing. Sonalji was performing, I was also performing. That's a better way of saying it. It was on different days. But for the publicity, and it's one on women and empowerment of women. So we just thought that we should do a shoot for publicity and together, so that the theme is brought out better. So we had this wonderful young photographer, Vandana Kohli, and we decided to go to the Housecarls monuments. And she always shoots only in natural light. So she said, I will shoot only in natural light. Please wear black. That was what she said. And she said, no makeup. And she said, I'd like to shoot like that. So we used the rope as a prop, because we just wanted something to show the strength and the kind of struggle. So this was a shoot for that, and it was very memorable because Sonalji was so much fun, and of course I was kind of shivering. That's another issue, but in awe of her, because she was stunning. She is stunning, and she's so beautiful and so elegant and such a versatile artist. We learned so much from her, and I would always be grateful to her, because when I was just, I think, in school, or maybe in first year of college or something, she used to do a young dancers festival in India International Center, and she asked me to perform. And I remember going with my father to her house, and she had this fabulous chair which had a halo at the back, and she was sitting there like a princess, like a queen, you know. And my father and me went and asked her about the program and what's all about. So these are memories. These are such beautiful memories of interacting with senior artists and looking up to them and being blessed by them. So that's part of the Delhi heritage, you know, and the Delhi, how it nurtured me, as I said. So these are all people who have contributed to, you know, my growth.
No, that's amazing. You can hear me clearly. I've just changed the position. And the one thing that this electricity problem has taught me just now is that I can add multiple angles of my own video in this. So if you see here,
Yes, this is what Bhai
so
used
I'm
to do.
looking at you from here, and there is a.
So I think always, you know, a group.
We always thought one Innee was bad enough. Having two Innees staring at you is unbelievable.
This is, and I was just thinking about this a couple of days back कि अगर मुझे different angles add करने हो तो कैसे होंगे? और वो light करी और मुझे पता चला.
Good fun.
But I'll. This one is back now.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
We can hear you lovely now.
Now, yeah, my microphone, everything is on. Hopefully, it remains on, but I'm still keeping my iPad as a backup ready, just to make sure that agar light jaye, to I'll be here. And I'm very sorry to everyone for this. This is unexpected, but this is the beauty of it. I think you were saying something about these things in between about technology or something.
Yes, you know, in her voice, what happened once at Habitat Center was it is a pre-recorded piece, and at one point the music just stopped.
Hanji.
And fortunately, it was an alap that was going on. I just started singing, you know, and I didn't know when it's going to come and at what point it is going to come. It was so much tension. And I was dancing. I was doing one very, very important scene where Draupadi is actually mourning the death of all her children. And at the back of my mind, I'm saying, oh God, what's going to happen now? The next bit was the entry of the students where they were supposed to come in. And you know, luck, it was just pure luck that the CD skipped and it reached exactly the point where the students enter. So last portion, I just sang and it just joined where it had to join.
That is what just happened.
So these things happen.
Is it echoing still?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is echoing. Okay, I think it's because of this. So I'll just remove this.
Yeah, now it's better. Now the echo is gone.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So, Amrita was also commenting, Innee, there is echoing, but by muting. But you said it's okay now, I think.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's perfect. Okay. So I've just reduced the volume, removed the volume of that. That is
So you can look at the comments as well. You have not seen it for a while. I hope.
I'll just see. There are a lot of comments. Welcome Rajiv ji. When Rajiv ji entered, a lot of people welcomed him. Shambhavi Shukla ji said, Namaskar Rajiv ji, welcome. Uma Dogra ji said, Namaskar Rajiv ji, nice to see you.
Hi,
and Meera Kathal ji said, welcome Rajiv ji. Pranam.
Questions kuch hai kya?
Questions, Uma ji says, Geeta ji, I have seen how many important role Rajiv ji plays in dance performances. What do you have to say about him as husband and working partner?
Very difficult. We fight a lot because we fight a lot because you know both are very, very set in what we think. You know, so to dialogue is very difficult. Because for him, you know, he has his own way of interpreting something or wanting to say it a certain way. And I'd kind of say, no, this doesn't work. So both of us fight a lot. But I think लड़ाई से प्यार बढ़ता है, तो ठीक है.
Innee, the main thing is, at the end of the fight, I always win.
I must come to you and take a tuition about that, please.
I let him believe that. Let it be.
Oh yeah, that is also the case, you know. That is also.
No,
But one thing I have.
Jokes
Hanji.
apart, I think we've known each other much before our marriage. You know, ours was quite a happening romance in Delhi, and he was in.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask that. Was it a love marriage?
It's a childhood romance, Innee. I saw her when she was 12, and you know,
Not 14, I guess.
14, maybe 14. And then at the age of 16, I wore a suit. I was in class 11, and I went to her house and I told her dad I wanted to marry her.
And what did you get in? What was the reply there?
He said he treated me so beautifully. He said, "Bacha, I know you want to marry Geeta, but perhaps you should finish school, finish college, get a job, and then we can think about it." But even after that day, they never stopped me from meeting Geeta. I mean, you know, such amazing parents, both Appa and Amma, never stopped me from interacting with her or, you know, put any obstacles in her meeting me. And so it grew up as a friendship. And, you know, I think that friendship, fortunately, this year we will complete 35 years of marriage. And I think it's
Wow.
just been a great journey together. You know, you may not agree on everything, and thank God, because that's what keeps things interesting. But the important thing is that friendship and the fact that you both agreed to look in the same direction. And I think that that's very important, you know, and I think that we were just lucky that we managed to work that out.
But I think that is also because you understand her art form, and you're you know, if you understand an artist.
Yeah. Again, coming back to Delhi, I think a lot of couples in Delhi who did things together at that time.
Yeah.
You saw Avinash and Toshi. You had Kavita Nagpal and Mr. Nagpal. You had so many such couples.
Shanta and Sarabjit.
Shanta and Sarabjit. You had Leela and Mr. Venkatraman. Mr. Venkatraman used to come for so many programs, all the programs at that time. So I think
Kalabala and
Raghav Menon and his wife. Jalabala and Gopal. So we were also inspired by so many of these people. I think that is something we don't focus on, but yes, it's true. You could always see these people, even as Rasika. So many people came to watch the program as together as couple, and they would always enjoy, and they would then kind of talk about the program. So there's a lot of this kind of thing. बाद में बहुत आगे चल के मुझे लगता है कि professionally when women started working and the man also got too busy, that's when I think different people started doing different things. It's different today. Even when you have to bring your children today to watch a program, I've never gone to a program alone with my mother. It has always been my father and mother taking me to a program. So I think time has changed now. Now when I see my students and their parents, it's not the same. Mother says, okay, father can do something else. I will take the child and go. Things have changed today. So I think the role models we had were wonderful people. They were so creative and both respecting what they stood for. So I think we learned a lot. Don't you think, Rajiv, we learned from all these people?
Absolutely. And, how to like I said, look in the same direction. I think that's so important. And also there were others, there were Rasikas like Vibhuti and Kisan Mehta, whom we really both, admired. Anil Devan and Smita. I mean, amazing people, who were
supported the arts very quietly as Rasikas. We need so many more today who quietly come and just enjoy what we offer. So that generation we miss in the audience.
Yeah, because these days I think anybody who's coming to watch the performance is more to judge it than to appreciate it or to enjoy it. Right. I think that is Chitra. Chitraji says, so true about going to shows or whatever we did with both my mother and father. Yes, that has really changed.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yes, yes.
Geeta ji, Mahua ji is asking, Geeta Akka, have you collaborated with Kathak, and how was it collaborating with Kathak, if you have?
Kathak I have done with Raju, a short program, but not anything very serious in terms of a longish program. And of course, I mentored Monisa for her program.
Haan ji, at Tarpan.
Yes, at Tarpan.
For Tarpan.
So I enjoyed that as well. I worked with her, but I haven't really collaborated with a Kathak dancer and worked with Bharatanatyam. But the problem with Kathak is that it's in terms of stance, in terms of rhythm, it's so different from Bharatanatyam that finding a common ground, one has to work very hard and be very focused and kind of see how that can be. And even the music traditions, if you see the Carnatic music, the Hindustani music, everything is kind of difficult to kind of fix and kind of put together. So it has to be very intelligently crafted. So I haven't thought about it. Mahua, there's always a first time.
First time, yeah, there's always. And have you ever done a solo with the North Indian music, like North Indian classical music? Have you ever done that?
I use Drupad, and I love Drupad. So I'm kind of, it's my dream project. I want to do an entire thing on Drupad. And I've tried to kind of compare Drupad with some of the compositions of Muthuswami Dikshita. He was greatly influenced by Drupad. Some of the compositions that we have of Muthuswami Dikshita, which he composed after his visit to Banaras, is extremely, stretched and Drupad-like. So that has been. Then I have used Ojesh Pratap Singh for me, one of my productions, Gandhi, which has been an old Bandesh.
Also the tradition of Haveli Sangeet, which is your
whole tradition of Haveli
Sangeet. Okay.
I did my senior fellowship was on Haveli Sangeet, and my whole tryst with Vrindavan, which I really cherish. And I hold very close.
It's beautiful. I've seen some videos of that.
Yes.
Dancing in the temple.
Yes, that is a space where I think it's very, very. One is extremely. One has to feel very grateful to have been able to get those experiences, because they're very, very special. And you realize that dance is always not for an audience, and you can dance for the Lord, and you can pour out your heart just directly in front of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and you don't care about who's there, not there, and the whole works, whether the light is working, whether the mic is working, nothing. It just
like the video I had shown in the beginning.
Yes.
That was sometimes with me. The problem is sometimes when I attend Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi performances, I don't understand the lyrics.
Yes.
I don't understand the lyrics. Yes. I, of course, only understand the involvement. I only see the involvement of the dancer. But I've always been very, very much curious to know looking at that video again, the one which we showed in the beginning, it shows, like you just said, it doesn't matter who's watching, who's judging you, or who's looking at the performance. But what do you feel when that music is going on? Because you have to keep a lot of things in mind when you're performing that.
No, I do. That piece was very special because I just asked Sudha to sing Rageshwari, the Ragam. I had told her to sing Ragam and Swaram and use Neraval. And just that was the structure. And we had practiced just twice in the studio, and we went on stage. I said, I want this to be a completely extempore kind of a piece where I just react to music, and the only thing I had to think about is, from this music, where is she going to go, and match my creative exploration to match the music, the way she was going, the whole route she was going to take. And that happens when you know the musician well and you know the music well of the musician. Sudha has been singing for me for so many years that I know, somewhat as to where she would go. Of course, she has her own, days when she would go in a different way, and she would have her own creative journey. But I think I could react. I knew how far she would go and what she would do. So that was a very, very interesting piece. I did it only once, but I feel I should revive it after seeing it. I feel I should do it again. I should take maybe some other raga and explore, because raga itself has a mood, and you don't need lyrics. Sometimes I feel the dance can just be with just music,
Just music.
And yes, absolutely, and just explore the body, explore space with the vocabulary that is kind of in your spine.
This video is on YouTube, and it had a title of some metaphor of something. I didn't get the whole thing. What was it about?
I think we use the lotus as a metaphor, and try to do the entire piece on the lotus. This was for some event, I don't remember now.
And where was I when you performed this? Was it in Delhi?
Yes, it was Habitat.
Why wasn't I there and photographing this?
Innee, you were in school.
Oh, it was that. No, but Rajivji, how old do you think I am?
That's a compliment. So just leave it.
Take a guess. Just take a guess. How old do you think I would be?
16 or 17.
No, right now.
Right now.
Right now, 16, 17. I have an 8-year-old son running around here and asking me, "Main ye kar lu, main wo kar lu."
I always, Sharanya always says, because I always say my age is 16, and Sharanya says, "Dad, at least you have to be as old as me." I say, "No, beta, that's your problem, not mine."
But even then, it doesn't work if you're as old as her. That won't work. You have to be older than her to be her father. But I'll declare my age today. I'll be 15 3 years.
Wow,
that's so young. How lovely.
Oh yeah, you can see that.
40s are great years of creativity. I think 40s. I did my best work, and I took a lot of risks when I was in 40s. You get a little more guarded in your 50s. You kind of want to play safe, because you've already made a mark, and people expect a certain thing. In 40s, you just explore everything. And
that is what this lockdown is kind of a blessing in disguise kind of a thing, because I've been exploring so many things about myself at home. Yes. Obviously, it's bad for the people who are affected outside, the underprivileged and all, but we are thankful that, and I'm so happy to see you. Like Murad Bhai had commented in the beginning that he's so happy to see you healthy, and now you've recovered from that.
It was a terrifying month of June for us. And I can now say it. We were 12 of us at home positive, all COVID positive, including 4 of our staff members who live with us all the time, and including my mother, who is 88. And so we had a tough time, and 3 family members, including Geeta, had it more difficult than others. So June was terrifying, but I think problems always show you that you can, if you stay together and work together, you can solve them. And luckily today, all 12 are alive and breathing. Like, I laugh all the time and say, "Oh wow, we pulled through this." So it's amazing. But it was
beautiful, actually, and very.
I think you just have to be very logical about it. You have to be very practical about it. There are certain steps you need to follow very systematically, and keep the oximeter reading, keep your thermometer, and keep your fever monitored. And the point was, all of us were. I felt ready to go into COVID, because we had already, taken those precautions of taking vitamin C, of doing a lot of things. So I think it's nice that if your immunity is already high, then
immunity.
Then combating with COVID is easier. So I think that I was doing, like a crazy person. I was doing yoga much more during the lockdown than before. So, and I was thinking this is going to keep me safe. but there are no safety nets as far as getting the illness, and I had not stepped out of the house, but still I got it. So you can't stop it like that in that sense and be scared about it. The point is how you deal with it. Even if you get it, how do you deal with it? So I think it's just to kind of be positive and move.
There was one question by Chitra Sundaramji. What would be a dream collaboration for you? This was when you were
collaborating with you, doing Moham maybe.
with me reading the script again.
See, I don't think anybody can get a better person to read a script on the stage than you.
No, I enjoyed doing that with Chitra.
I think now there are so many things that one wants to do. Maybe work with a very professional company from the West with a completely different vocabulary and try and see how a classical performance can be juxtaposed with a very contemporary expression. But then all this is very hard because, as I said, because we want quickies, we want things in 2 days, in 3 days.
Yeah.
Happen. These kinds of things need money. Collaboration needs money. Collaboration needs time. Collaboration needs a lot of freedom to be able to explore, to make mistakes and then recreate. It's not कि एक बार कर दिया और वही होगा. तो बार बार करके ट्राई करके ये नहीं हुआ तो कुछ और करना है, फिर और कुछ करना है. So I think there are lots of things that you keep trying and you have to work. This is, I think, one thing that we all as dancers, we accept the first thing that we arrive at and we say this is good enough. But I think I have always wanted multiple options for anything and kind of weigh everything and then arrive at what I think would be the most appropriate.
That's very stressful for spouses around.
I wanted to ask you, there was a movie Golmaal, जो new वाली Golmaal है, उसमें एक dialogue था that behind every successful man there is one woman and behind every unsuccessful man there are many. So but what I wanted to ask here is behind a successful woman there is a man, of course, and of course you are successful as well in your profession. But when we were talking about जो आपने कहा कि we fight a lot and I said I must and you win, Rajiv ji. So I was like इनको तो गुरु बनाना पड़ेगा कि ये तो एक art है जो सीखना है, because there was a joke about this also about a lawyer, कोई case हो रहा था वहां पे judge का, and I don't know, judge kept on listening and the same thing was happening कि मैंने अपनी wife को ये बोल दिया और उसको मैंने ये कर दिया वो कर दिया and all that, डरा दिया और वो मेरे से डर गई, उसने मेरे से माफी मांगी. The judge in the end says मुझे result नहीं पता, बस मुझे ये बता दो कि तुमने उससे sorry कैसे बुलवाया, मुझे ये सिखा दो यहाँ पे बाकी केस का मुझे नहीं पता. So that was but I have seen you and I always say that I was telling Geeta ji earlier that if I read an English word and if I'm a little bit confused about the pronunciation of it, I think of calling Rajiv ji, sir, isko pronounce kaise karte hain, because you have such impeccable English, and
again, Innee, that doesn't happen automatically. In my school, St. Columbus, we had elocution classes by the top theater people right from kindergarten to class 12. And so we were taught how to speak. It's not so. I had Kusum Haider, I had Rebecca Soothan, I had a whole lot of these B.M. Shah from NSD. So in those days, theater people would come to St. Columbus to teach us how to speak. And I think that it's a training. It's not something that happens automatically. It is how you are taught. And I think that that's the thing. These days, people are not taught how to speak in schools. That's not a skill that is, that's recognized as a that's something that you should have. But I think it is, because when you meet somebody, the way they speak is very oftentimes what you remember about them. And I think we still have to go back. So I've now started taking classes for schools as a volunteer, where I teach students how to speak better. I'm not working at accents, but I just try to teach them how to articulate using their chest, using their stomachs, and how the air works in the body. And it's amazing. I did that in Faizabad because Geeta is on the board of a school in Faizabad, and I conducted the workshop there. Those kids enjoyed it too. So there are different things that you can do to stay relevant.
Yeah, that's I got that's so amazing to hear that they taught you how to speak in English. Am I doing okay in English?
We will have an offline discussion.
मैं अब आपसे हिंदी में बात करूंगा and if this इसके बाद हम हिंदी में बात करेंगे and I'm sure Geeta ji आपको मैंने पहले ही पूछा था आप हिंदी बोलते हैं ना अच्छी तरह so you are a Delhi
Innee, I have to tell you, when Hindi Bhavan wanted a trustee, Geeta was the first South Indian trustee of the Hindi Bhavan, because she speaks Hindi like a dream. I can't speak Hindi at all, but she is amazing with her spoken Hindi.
But let's talk to you in Hindi now, Rajiv sir. Yeah. I want to talk to you in Hindi. मुझे आपसे हिंदी में बात करनी है. I might as well start in Punjabi. Then don't say कि ये क्या हो गया. I didn't get the first word here. Sita Lakshmi Iyer ji says, Anna or Ona is a very lovely human being and a lovely partner for Akka.
Thank you, Sita.
Anu Bala says, you are awesome, uncle. And Supreet Mishra says, seriously, Rajiv sir, thanks for teaching students. It is really important these days.
Yeah.
And Uma Dogra ji says, you both make a perfect couple. ये तो ट्रेनिंग लेनी है. संगीता चैटर्जी says, Pranam Akka and good evening everyone. Mahua ji ने एक comment किया था पहले. I had posted it. There is so much to learn from you, Geeta Akka, and I would really love to have your workshop in the coming future once things are back to normal.
Yes,
वो normal की ही wait हो रही है कि वो normal जो है. When does that happen?
I feel this is for all, not only dancers but everybody. I think we have to see this as an opportunity. We cannot see this as a huge hurdle, because I think when I started teaching on the Zoom, I was so excited for the first 2 months because there was so much to learn, how technology can be used to teach. So the first 2 months was like, amazing for me. I was as though I was 24/7 thinking, अच्छा ये भी हो सकता है, अच्छा ये video भी दिखा सकते हैं, ये film भी दिखा सकते हैं. You can add so many things to the sharing screen, and you can show them and discuss them. So I think the learning has been of a different kind in the last few months, where intellectually children have been engaged very, very usefully. They have read so much, they've seen so many films, they've had so many lectures, they have so many informal discussions. So I think we have to see it as an opening to do so many other things. If dance is not limited to just learning your technique and performing, there's so much more that you can do in terms of engaging. So we've had, for the youngsters, for example, we've had them, discuss a lot of mythology, talk about it, draw about it, read poetry. So all this we never did in a real class, So I think in this given environment, we tried out all this, and we realized that this can be a great point where we do a complete rethink of how we are going to look at education. Whether it is the arts, whether it is education in schools, I think there's so much more possible today, which we haven't explored. So this is seen as an opportunity.
Carrying on from what Geeta is saying, I think wanting to go back to pre-COVID times is a futile dream. There is going to be a new normal. We have to work with new realities. And my organization, the United Nations, says, let's build back better. And I think that that's very important. Let's not go back to, what the way things were, but let's use this as an opportunity to build back better. And I think that that's something that we all need to work on, especially in the domain of the arts, because, many of the problems that we've had, many of the issues that remain unresolved, now is the chance to use technology, to use the thinking time, the downtime, to see what is that better and how can we build that in the future.
That's true. Rajit, I wanted to ask you because when I invited you into the room, I had to leave, and that was a funny thing. But what are obviously you are together, you live together in one house, you must be asking each other every question. But is there something you want to ask on my show to Geeta ji? Do you have some questions for her? That'll give me some answers as well.
Innee, I think not asking questions, but actually to say that now looking back, 45 years together in a journey, I think she's been also my guru, because what I've learned from her is incredible. I have learned how to be painfully honest, because I think that that's one quality about Geeta that everybody will know. And that's something
I have paid a heavy price for that.
Sorry, I didn't get that. I lost the.
I paid a heavy price for that.
She's paid a heavy price for that. But I admire the fact that she is painfully honest, and she will never say anything that she does not believe in. And it's been a learning for me, because I come from the world of diplomacy where you can say one thing in many ways, and you're taught and trained that how to infuse your reply with multiple colors. So learning that one thing from Geeta has been an incredible experience for me. And also the fact that one has to work very hard to reach one's goals. I mean, gosh, I even after all these years, I admire that one thing in Geeta, that there is no shortcut. If she takes a project, she is into it. And many of us in the workplace delegate, we procrastinate. There are multiple ways in which we handle the office and its requirements, but not the artist. And I think that that's in those few things, I think she's been an awesome guru for me.
Wow. And I think for me, Rajiv has always been, I was such a serious person before I got to know Rajiv. I think he brought fun and joy, and to kind of not look at things as life and death. For me, work used to be life and death. Ye nahi kiya to kya hoga? So Rajiv used to always be the stress buster, and say ki chill, ho jayega sab kuch. So that I think that brought in that element of taking life not so seriously, but to be able to just take things as they come. So that because my mother was extremely, if I didn't top, or if I didn't get the marks that she thought I should get, she wouldn't talk to me for 2 days. So I came from an extremely, what should I say,
hyper competitive
kind of an environment. So I needed somebody who could tone me down and say, okay, it's all right. So Rajiv just did that. And I think the best part was the time when I was still making up my mind whether to take up dance full time. I think that's the point that I really respect Rajiv, because he said, no, go for it. Don't, because it was a very difficult.
Was there ever a time when you wanted to quit, or you thought ke mujhe nahi karna?
Dance?
Hanji, dance.
No, see, after college, what happened is I got lovely offers to work after my master's in communication. So I I thought, I was superhuman and I could dance and work and, things. But I'm not that way, a multitasking, easily doing 20 different things I couldn't do. So, I was missing dance when I was working. And when I come back, my Guruji used to be waiting. I used to be tired. It didn't happen. So then I just one day decided, I have to kind of now decide. So I just asked my teacher and I asked Rajiv. I said, is this the time to really go in for it? Because we all come from families where, yes, economically, we do think, how are we going to manage? So it was a decision at that time. We were not loaded and I didn't have money tucked away, which could kind of see me.
Neither did I.
So that means, does it mean that you're loaded now?
No.
Because
still struggling. And that's okay, because that's become our.
But is arts because for as a photographer, I think performing art photography is a very underpaid job.
It is.
You work a lot, but you don't get what you've put into it.
That's true.
Innee, let me tell you, as somebody who looks after the financial things around Geeta, everybody around the dancer makes some money except the dancer. And this is a reality. It's a brutal reality of the economics of dance today. And I think that that's patently unfair. We have tried to change it. It takes a very long, unusually long gestation period for dance to become remunerative. If you're lucky, it doesn't happen to everybody. There are many multiple skills that are required to make that happen. I think it's a very, very difficult profession. And I think it's, which is why...
When we were growing up,
Geeta?
We still had ticketed programs. And, we had people paying to see dance and music. But I think the proliferation of the number of performers between the 90s and after that, it became so much that the numbers were so much more than the opportunities or the platforms that you could come up with. So I think that is where the whole thing kind of toppled. And today also I feel if the seniors do not demand a certain respect and a certain remuneration, which is, I don't think then it's going to work. So I think it has to come from the top. So I think the great responsibility on senior dancers to not really engage in free activities, So it is very important. It's very important because I have in the last few days also had, I was talking to a lot of the senior dancers and we all felt that it is a responsibility now for all, because there's so many platforms asking us to do so many things. And if we start doing everything for free, then, I think for the younger dancers, there is no hope at all.
Very well. This answers a lot of... This answers...
So I think and it has to come from the top. I'm sorry, it has to come from the top. We have to take the responsibility for what is happening today. So I have tried my level best to kind of see that things don't happen for free, not for me, even for the little ones, wherever they go and dance. It's not the amount, but the fact that there has to be payment.
There has to be payment,
for dance. So I think there is this huge thing of trivializing the art and saying, "Acha free mein kar lo, tum logon ko kya hai, kar lijiye." So this kind of a thing of arts mein kya hai? Arts, it's not that. Does a doctor do anything for free? Does a lawyer do anything for free? I mean, you see so many professions where nothing is done for free. So why is the artist always expected to go pro bono? And and any charity, you'll see artists are the first ones to be asked. "Aap kar lijiye." Ye ek baar aap kar lijiye. So they don't understand. So I think it's also the point is that the artists have also not treated the art as something that is requires remuneration and requires a certain payment that they have the right to, but we don't ask because we're so scared कि अगर मैं कुछ कह दूंगी तो ये opportunity किसी और को चली जाएगी.
किसी और को, that's right, and somebody will do it for eventually do it for free.
अपने आप में conviction नहीं है और आप strong नहीं रहेंगे तो फिर तो मेरे को लगता है कि ये तो losing battle है. काम इतना करिए और अपना level इतना बढ़ाइए कि आप negotiate कर सकें और बोलें कि मैं इस अपने terms पे ही करूंगी.
And there was that article. Yet they say the arts is the number one non-essential profession in these times. Being an artist.
और रोज शाम को लोग गाना सुन रहे हैं या डांस देख रहे हैं या कोई डिस्कशन आर्टिस्ट के साथ कर रहे हैं. तो बताइए.
और आता ये सब कुछ, if you're listening to music, वो किसी आर्टिस्ट नहीं बजाया है तो आप सुन रहे हैं, and then
आप सुन रहे हैं और फिर या तो भी आप डांस देख रहे हैं. तो ये बहुत ही, don't you think this is a kind of a complete conflict where you are saying you won't support the arts, but you're using the arts to get over a difficult period where you're prone to depression. सारे कह रहे हैं गाना सुन लो डिप्रेस नहीं होंगे, डांस देख लो डिप्रेशन नहीं होगी. भाई ये सब एक्टिविटीज हैं जो आपको इसमें से निकाल सकता है. तो निकालने वाले हैं तो उनको भी तो अपना खाना पीना करना है.
उनको कौन निकालेगा? अगर Geeta ji, I have a personal, not personal, but I have one question about. I have seen a lot of your senior disciples, like Natya Vriksh ke, जैसे शरण्या के same age group के, and I have seen them dance, and you have honed them in a way that they are all serious solo dancers as well. Kyunki I wouldn't name anybody, but I have shot a lot of arangetrams. I've shot a lot of pre-arangetrams where I see that, and we discuss that sometimes with the video wale, और हम देख रहे होते हैं ना, we are like, इनको इतनी जल्दी क्या थी? Even though I am the last person to understand what the technicalities of the dance, but I've seen a couple of your, I've shot a few of your arangetrams, and all the dancers have been, when you train a dancer, when when do you realize, or when do you make sure that ab she's ready to be a soloist, which is a very, because I have seen
because Natya Vriksha, it's a tradition in Natya Vriksha that nobody asks when I can do my arangetram, because this is one question that is not asked, because everybody knows that Akka knows best and Akka will decide when the arangetram is going to happen. So anybody, actually, even while doing the auditioning in the beginning, I tell the parents, what are you looking for? So if any of the parents says that we are looking for a quick arangetram in 2 or 3 years, I say thank you very much. I am not the person for that. There are many others who might fit the bill. So we only take students who want to engage with the arts in a long term. There is no question of some people come and say, oh, but we are on a transferable job. In 2 years, we might go something. I said, I can suggest a teacher there in the city that you're going and you can continue. But I can't guarantee an arangetram in 2 years or something. So it takes a good 8 to 9 to 10 years. उससे पहले तो कुछ होता नहीं है, because I don't wait for them to complete one margam. They know at least 2 or 3 margams by the time they do their arangetram. That's when you get a feel of what dance is. And so I think, it's very strange, because when the class is going on, suddenly there will be a moment that I see in the child. It's not about perfection. It's not about doing a thing correctly. There is that fleeting moment of rasa, of that quality, that most intangible quality in the dance that I suddenly spot. And that's when the class finishes and I call up the parent and say, I want to now look at an arangetram for your daughter or son, whatever. So I just feel, the intangibles in the arts are the most difficult to transmit. You can transmit the tangibles very easily, but the intangibles, which is reacting to a sangadi of music, or an extra turn that the dancer is taking, which I had not taught, which is a self-expression of a certain phrase, which she feels and connects with the dance. I think those are the moments I look for, and I say, yes, now you are ready.
Chitraji has a question.
Yes.
There is not shared understanding on all sides what is meant by being professional in dance. Is there a certain hesitancy because of the Devadasi history as well, as that art has to be holy and can't talk money, therefore?
Rajiv, you want to take that question?
Yeah, Chitra.
I've been talking
I
so
think
much.
the whole point of Devadasis is that they were in it for either land or some kind of patronage. So I don't really know when this other thing crept into the classical dance to say that money is bad. It's not from the Devadasi thing. Every time a Devadasi performed in court, there would be a gift. Geeta's first teacher had got the Swarna Shrinkala. There were many gifts that she received in gold when she had performed for various audiences. So the remuneration, so to speak, happened in different ways. But the Devadasi was always compensated. And I think that it's only later, I think it's the Gandhian view of looking at money badly that really led us to a period where the arts became something that was holy, as you say, and above money. And I think that that's very unfortunate.
And I think the other thing is the supply and demand. I always come back to that. The supply is just far too much more than the demand there is for the arts. There's so many dancers, and excellence is not celebrated. You know, a beginner or a person dancing for just a few years is also in the same slot as somebody who is evolved and who is stayed the course for so many years and proved herself as a meritorious artist. So I think we have to have some kind of segregation and celebration, and I think also the fact that there is no halo that can work for the arts. You're as good as your last program, so we have to learn to also see that. So I think there are many things that I, in the West, for example, there's always grading the companies for their work for that particular year.
National Endowment for the Arts does that in the US, or at least used to do that in the US.
Used to.
Oh, grading the companies, the dance companies.
Yes.
And even the Martha Graham Dance Company had to apply for keeping their grade every 3 years. It's not that you were graded once and you stayed, for a lifetime with it. Every 3 years, you had to go through the process of validating your grade. Amazing sister.
So I think, there are a lot of, and I find that, more than the government, it is dancers who have come in and who have, are taking people who have not been seen. Umaji is doing a great job of the Raindrop Festivals where she presents dancers. I've been doing the Young Dancers Festival, and I mostly present dancers who have not been seen in Delhi. And and it's amazing. I've had such fantastic dancers who are almost in their 40s and have never ever performed in Delhi. So I think those are the kinds of people I would present, and people would say, "Wow, ऐसे भी dancer हैं." So so I think
Very, very
being an impresario, it's very sad that I'm not going to take the names or the names of the cities, but in certain cities, an impresario has never ever gone to a program and seen the young dance and see the work of the others. They have some names which they keep repeating over and over again, and they feel very, very happy amongst themselves कि बड़ा festival कर लिया. But I think every few years you have to see that you have senior artists and good people who have already been dancing, but you also have at least 3 or 4 new names which are coming into the effort. That's the balance I feel festivals must have. And there is no, it's not easy to be an impresario or a presenter or a good organizer, because you need to keep your eyes and ears open. And I try very hard to see performances so that I get new fresh talent which can be put in the, because I decide I don't have to go by XYZ or say, and this excuse ki, oh, हमारी कमिटी बैठती है और उस कमिटी में डिसाइड होता है हम क्या कर सकते हैं, all this, I don't buy. If there is a will, there is a way. And it has to be a formula and it has to be by rotation. If one dancer has danced in a festival, the dancer cannot be repeated every year. There are so many waiting in the wings. How can you have the same dancer repeat every year?
Yeah, this has been a question we've been discussing in the other chats also.
Yes.
That, because there is a favoritism that, okay, पिछले साल भी वही आए थे,
I don't want to go into all that. I just feel, since there are so many dancers and opportunities are few, we need to be more careful when we curate festivals. We need voices, new voices coming up, and we need to say that, how we can kind of accommodate more people rather than the same people having to do it again and again.
Bhai Baldeep Singh ji is here. He sends a heart with an exclamation mark.
Hanji bhai, kaise ho?
And his profile picture says, "When in Rome." Baki sab chota chota hai. Suman Dunga ji says, "Namaskar Geeta Chandran ji." Uma Dogra ji says, "True, as organizer, we have to keep looking for new talents."
Yes, and you're doing
Uma ji, मुझे बुलाइएगा बॉम्बे. मुझे बुलाइएगा वो.
Yes.
Hanji, and I think they're doing it online also, I think. Or they've already done it. I saw that. Bhagishri Chakradhar ji says, there are so many organizers who ask young dancers to perform for free in the name of promotion. And that is also one thing that they say, we'll give you the exposure, you perform for free. Ye bhi hota hai.
That's a choice you make. Because you come from a certain value system that the teacher gives you.
Hanji.
And that's your take, how you want to go ahead. If I, as a teacher, have inculcated that value system, I know my children will weigh the options. They would definitely say, is it worth it? Is that exposure worth that? You have to weigh it. So I always have this discussion with senior dancers, maybe our children are not, they don't get that much of opportunity because they put their cards in front of the organizer and say, this is it, if you're okay with it, then, see, because you also give the student not just the art form, but a philosophy towards the arts, which is for the well-being of the community. So I think that philosophy, you teachers have to give the students, it's not always about just exposure, but it's also about the health of the dance community. You've spent 20 years in dance. I think you have a right to say a certain thing. And if the person is not willing, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. One less opportunity doesn't, matter.
Very true. Right? Very true. Very well said. What do you think? I just have two more questions. One is about Natya Vriksha. What do you think of Natya Vriksha together? Like because when I remember photographing all of them in the studio once for my calendar, which actually never came out because I couldn't find a sponsor for it. So, but I remember having them, and I think Rajiv ji you also shared that picture where you said 6 daughters. I don't have one, I have 6 daughters. Face side by side. What do you think of Natya Vriksha as a whole, as together?
Rajiv?
I think, Innee, it's a unreal dream. The dream started decades ago when Geeta started teaching. But we were very clear that it's not going to be a dance school. I mean, on that, we were completely clear. It had to be an idea pot. It was a space for ideation, and it had to be a space which brought in artists from everywhere. The studio is available for artists from all over the country to come and rehearse, and many of them use that space to rehearse, because when you go to another city, rehearsing for your performance there is a problem. So we've opened our house space to do that. We present young artists who we think are talented in the studio. I think Natya Vriksha is also a continuing dialogue with the parents of the students. And I think that that's an important investment that Geeta makes. It's not just the child, but the ecosystem around the child that we try to influence. So I think it's a huge commitment. Everybody is part of Natya Vriksha. My brother, who works in textiles, is as involved as my mother, who is there as the grand dame of Natya Vriksha, and all the students come and interact with her, and she learns from them, and they learn from her. And so it's like I said, it's a foolish dream, and that's what it is.
I feel
Shruta Gopalan says, Hanji.
I feel I'm very emotional about Natya Vriksha because I've seen these girls, and for them they're not my students. They're part of me, and I just cannot imagine my life without them. But what we have done in Natya Vriksha, which I would say, as Rajiv said, it was a very, very large dream, is to teach dance, of course. Teach dance as a passion without stakes, and to widen the possibilities. So from Natya Vriksha, somebody has gone into JNU to do a PhD. Somebody has gone into psychology and tried to combine dance and psychology and is into dance therapy, using dance as therapy. Somebody else is looking at dance from the angle of going to school and how to integrate dance in education. So I'm so happy that whatever they do, they link dance to it. So dance is not just performance. It just cannot be just performance. Dance has to be in whatever do you do. Of course, performance is important. They're all performing. It's not that they're on, but whatever they do, even in their formal education, they try to bring in a synergy with dance so that they connect dance with what they do because they love it so much. So I think that's so important for me, that we are not somebody else is doing research, somebody else has become an arts administrator. So we have so many diverse people coming out of Natya Vriksha doing so many diverse things. I think that for me has been extremely gratifying.
Wow. I was just, when you were speaking, I was thinking of a question that just came out of what you just said. I have noticed that every dancer who has been, any dancer who I've seen, who's a really good dancer, most of the dancers I've seen are very good academically also. In their studies, they're toppers, they're doctors, they're, doing a lot. Does dance help? Does dance help or arts help in that?
Of course, dance helps. I think I've had PhD students come before their exam, before their viva, defending their theses. They come and dance and go. They feel they'll be energized, and I've been master's exam. Even yesterday I was talking to a student who had her master's exam the next day, and I was nervous and I was saying, go study. And she'd say, no, Akka, let me dance. I have to be in the class, I have to dance and go back, and I'm sure tomorrow is going to be okay. So I think dance has never been a stressful activity to do. It has been a de-stressing activity, which they do in order to stay fit, happy. And that's why I feel, this lockdown has been so important. Dance has been so important to many of them, because otherwise there's no activity at all. They're doing 6 to 8 hours of Zoom learning, the school thingy, and it's so hard. So I think yesterday I was talking to I always talk to them for 20 minutes. I've started talking to them before the class and after the class, just to know what's happening in their minds, because depression is such a huge issue now. So I feel that, dance and music and theatre and any of these activities have such a big role in the youngsters, with the youngsters today. This is the only hope. I can tell you, this is the only hope. This is the only way they can come out of this terrible situation in a happy frame of mind.
There's a question, Rajiv ji, if you would look at the screen. Mesma S.
Mesma, hi.
Yeah, she's asking, hello, Geeta and Rajiv uncle. This is your student from Boston. Dancers now have to be be their own marketing, PR, packaging, costuming, social media professionals, etc. You get the picture. Do you have any words of wisdom for dancers like us who are trying to keep up a daily rehearsal routine, performances, and also managing other aspects of the profession? Thank you.
Mesma, you're doing it well. So, and you have the visual arts component in you, which is so huge and so beautiful. So that can be of great help for you to de-stress. It is a challenge. I'm not denying the fact that it is not a challenge, and that is why I think many of my dancers are multitasking. They're not doing only dance; they're all working, and I feel they make very good dancers. They come from work, they are dancing, and sometimes going back to work. So yes, it's a difficult journey that they have taken on, but I feel they are happy. So one has to not see the problems, but when one is dancing, one forgets all this. Don't you agree? So I think dancing compensates for all the problems that happen, and those hours of practice and those hours of performance really compensate for a lot of the problems that you go through. And that is what you have to hold on to and say, I'm working for that moment. And all this is working.
That is very inspiring. It's actually this thing, and even for a non-dancer like me, when I go to an auditorium and take pictures, I forget everything. And it's very de-stressing. It's very relaxing. Unless I'm back at home and again thinking about the same things. Like once this chat is over, as soon as I go out, I'll remember kal kaam pe jana hai, usse bachna hai, ye nahi karna, wo nahi karna, all that stuff. Mesma says, thank you, Akka. Yes, totally agree. And there's a me, Jay. Akka and uncle, what advice would you give to struggling artists across genres who seem to be torn between survival and their creative passion? Kind of a long answer would be for this.
Difficult time, but the fact is that, as I said, this has to be treated as a time when you think you kind of have to take it as a challenge and work hard. Struggle has always been, in no country is an artist comfortable. Artists are a struggling lot. Whether if you think that in a developed country artists are very well off, no, it's not. It's not like that. I think the choice, when you choose to be an artist, you have to kind of train your mind that the struggle is going to be there. And I don't think even senior artists who are world famous are loaded. We are loaded in terms of happiness. We are loaded in terms of doing what we love to do. Because I feel my peer from college, either they have given up completely and taken voluntary retirement from what they were doing, or they are all struggling and unhappy doing what they are doing. So I think as artists, we need to be happy that we're doing what we love to do, and we occasionally get paid.
Occasionally get paid is a nice way to go. Well, that's Rajiv sir, I have just a last question for you, which is always the end part of our chat show, and I have that for Geeta ji as well. Do you Amrita has a question, so I'll take that first, or she can call you at home to ask. And uncle, what do you think will the future of dance be post the pandemic? There's so much that the artists are doing to keep things together, but with no picture of the future for the arts. It was in a way difficult earlier as well, but now it has become very difficult to even imagine scenarios. Thoughts?
Amrita, like I told the show earlier, it's unrealistic to expect that we will go back to the previous pre-COVID normal. We have
Pre-COVID
to be
is also not great for artists anyway.
That's what
probably,
she's saying, actually.
but, it's going to be tough. Probably performing on stage will not happen before March or April next year. Let's be clear about that. That's the earliest. And even then, it'll be with distancing and everything. Because remember, everybody talks about the vaccine. A vaccine in a lab is not going to protect you. It is when you can access the vaccination that you can be protected. Look at polio, for example. It took 50 odd years for the polio vaccine to reach everybody in India. So how, there will be a long period before the COVID vaccine is accessed by all of us here in India. So we have to be realistic, not dream about going back to that, mythical pre-COVID times. We have to create a new normal. It will be a new normal. There will be new patterns of patronage. There will be new patterns of finance. There will be new patterns of art. All this experience that artists are going through will definitely emerge as a creative source also. So we'll see new forms of expression, but we have to build back better. And I think that that's important. Let us see how we can be more inclusive, more accommodating, more helpful, and create a better world. I mean, that's really what I can say, Amo.
And I feel, yes, this pandemic should teach us a few lessons. And we need to be, as a society, I think we need to hold hands more and talk to each other more, be more compassionate. And this is the time for introspection, great introspection, and preparing yourself for what is to come. You never know what the next step is going to be. And I think ideation amongst artists is also very important as to how are we going to take this forward. Also bring in, hopefully, the corporate sector, who can also tell us how to go about it and how the money can come in and how we can create platforms of excellence and which can be ticketed and which can be put across in a professional way. So we need to think about it, and I'm sure things are going to emerge. I see a lot of people thinking about it. Right now, I think we need to deliberate and put our heads together and see how we can take this forward.
And photographers like me can actually shoot performances on computer screens, sitting here with a camera and practicing and probably evolving with the times. And I don't know. The last question.
Yeah, what's your last question?
The last question was, it's actually a question that Murad Bhai asks every artist at the end of the segment. They all usually ask, but I think you've mostly answered that question in the chat. That if you're made the head of the cultural head of India for one day, what changes would you make? What changes would you like to make? It's inspired from that movie Nayak. बट आई ऑलवेज से कि जब भी मैं ये क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ तो उसमें एंड में मैं ये जरूर लगा देता हूँ, एक तो मुझे कोई अवार्ड दे देना, उसके बाद आप देख लीजिए क्या करना है। क्या चेंजेस करने हैं। एक अवार्ड तो मुझे अच्छा सा कोई दे देना, उससे फिर मैं रिटायर हो जाऊंगा हंस हंस के। बिकॉज आई डोंट थिंक, लाइक यू सेड, अप्रैल में मार्च अप्रैल से पहले शो नहीं होना, तो व्हाट विल अ फोटोग्राफर डू, हु इज ओनली शूटिंग डांस?
It's difficult. It's difficult for all sectors.
Absolutely. Difficult for all sectors.
So what changes would you like to take that question? What changes would you like to make?
Yes, I think I have kind of seen the other side as well when I was part of the Sangeet Natak Academy executive board, and I've seen it's not easy to be an arts administrator in this country, because the government really doesn't think very much of you, So when we used to go to the finance ministry with our requirement, we used to be asked to wait in the corridor for hours before the secretary could meet us. This is how art is treated in this country. And these were very senior artists, like, Padma Bhushans, Padma Vibhushans, who were in the executive board, waiting in the corridor to meet a secretary, culture, and we were representing Sangeet Natak Academy at that time. Unless the mindset changes, unless we ensure that each bureaucrat, before he takes up posting, he has to do a course on the arts and to know, to value the arts and to take pride in the arts. It's a must. Unless we bring in arts education as something mandatory in the schools, things are not going to change. This changing things in the top cannot help, because we have to change things from the bottom. We have to change the mindset in the schools, in the management of the schools. So it's a huge churning that has to happen. So
and it can't happen in a day. Definitely never in a day.
From the top, I really feel it cannot happen from the top. You need to kind of have the entire society, and that's why I felt I was telling my students yesterday that don't crib when people say that the arts are the most non-important thing, because we have never made ourselves indispensable in society. We have to be part of education. We have to be part of reacting to society and its problems. We've never been a community that has the power to change things. We've never been change makers. We sit on the fence. We don't want to react if there is a problem. Ab ECA ka itna bada ho raha hai. Artists don't care. They're bothered about the next performance on the online thing. How many people have really raised their voices? How many people? So we are not a power group which matters. It's sad. Let's think about this also. We keep saying that we are the most individual. सब हमको उठा के फेंक दिए. हमको इतना अपने आप को strong अपने आप में बनाना है कि हमको कोई nonsense हमारे साथ नहीं करे. And we are not trivialized. How do we do that? We have to become a power group, and for that we need to come together, right? Right now, एक यहाँ बोलता है तो दूसरा कहीं और बोलेगा. ऐसे तो नहीं चलता है ना. That is not the way. And not only just dance and music, but theatre. There's so many things. You see, cinema में एक चीज होता है तो सबको कैसे इकट्ठे बोल पड़ते हैं ना.
हाँ जी.
So I think we need to become a power group, and for that you have to think beyond performance. I'm sorry. You have to think beyond performance. You have to think yourself as belonging to a community which can be effective change makers.
That's very well said. I hope people get inspiration from this, and they see this and hear this. This is very inspiring, and this, the whole chats I'm doing with this chat session would definitely make me look at everything in a different way, because once again, like you said, post-COVID, we'll have a new normal, and when I go back there in an auditorium, whenever, I'll have a different perspective to everything. I have always appreciated art, but I'll appreciate it more. Some comments, some thank you comments for Amrita. I forgot to mention Vibhaji was here. So she commented, Namaste Geeta ji and Rajiv ji, the best couple I know. And
I think, thank you so much, because
my pleasure. Thank you for Haji, you were saying,
because I think you go a little beyond being just a photographer. You want to engage, which is a very good thing, Innee, because I feel that all the stakeholders need to go beyond their mandate. If they go beyond their mandate, then we become a community. Otherwise, we just remain in our own professions and just do our little bit and go. It's a question of relating. It's a question of empathy. So I feel that you are reaching out, which is very nice, and may you always continue to do that.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much. It was an honor to have you as a guest. And Rajiv ji, you took over when I was struggling here and there. No light, no iPad, no sound, nothing. A lot of those. I think I got some WhatsApp messages from Gauri Divakar. She said, where are my questions? I couldn't see her questions in the posts. So probably because of that problem that I had, and my iPad was off and all that. But we'll definitely take a lot of comments from your students thanking you. And but if I start taking all of them, will be another.
Gauri, just give me a call and ask the question.
No, but he has to call me and I have to ask you the question. Gauri, please call me and I will ask you the question and I'll get back to you. Mijay says, Innee Singh ji, thank you so much for bringing Akka and Uncle together in this time when we need all compassion and guidance. My pleasure. It has been an honor for me to have them here together. And this was so energizing. Thanks to all three of you, Mesma says. Thank you so much. Thank you. Chitra ji says, well said. Lot of takeaways. Stay well. Be blessed. Lovely seeing both of you, Geeta and Rajiv. Bye for now. And a lot of thank you comments. And Mahua ji says, what an inspiring conversation, Geeta Akka and Rajiv ji. Thank you so much for your valuable time. We are honored and blessed. Warm regards, Mahua. And I'm speaking so fast and reading so fast that I need a glass of water now. So मैं जाके पानी पीऊंगा. And Rajiv sir, I will call you to get the feedback on my English and then probably improve on that. Thank you so much again. Thank you for joining. And thank you everybody for joining us. There's still around 50 people watching. So that means if we are sitting in IIC and there are 50 people, that means we have a lot of audience. It's a hit show.
Numbers never bother me. We had fun. That's all.
We had fun, absolutely. But I was like in between. मैं तो डर गया था, इधर-उधर भाग रहा था. And जो अंदर से निकलता है वो भी नहीं निकल पाया because I was on microphone. But it worked out well. Thank you so much and good night and thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Geeta. Thank you.